Welcome everyone to this Force Friday. Very exciting weekend coming up. We have obviously the new Spider-Verse film coming out. I think very hugely anticipated. Super exciting. I have a couple of friends that have worked on this film, so I'm really excited to see it and see what they've been working on for the last few years. And we're here today to talk about superhero posing, right? And gesture drawing in superheroes. Some of you may not know this, but the reason I went to art school was actually to get into comics. So I still collect comics till this day, probably not as much as I used to. I'm kind of picky about what I'm like looking for at this point, but yeah, I still collect them, right? I still love reading comics. I love looking through artwork of comics. And I think, comics is such a great avenue for art, right? There's just a vast amount of styles and skills and stories, right? And as we all know, not only for the more common superheroes like Spider-Man or Superman, a lot of other TV shows and movies have come out of comics, especially over the last 20 years, right? Like that's definitely a haven that like the film and television industries, Netflix are looking at for intellectual property, for IP, right? So love comics, So what we're going to do today is kind of interesting. Mrityunjay is going to start us off with looking at some reference and turning those references into hero characters. On the second half, I'm going to take a broader look at different artists that have really affected me and I think affected the industry when it comes to force specifically. And then I'll do some gesture drawing from imagination, right? So that's how we'll tie this whole thing together today. So before we do so, let's say hello to Mrityunjay. How you doing, Mrityunjay?
Yeah, I'm doing very good. Very excited for the stream because, yeah, I love comics myself, and thanks for comic industry. Like Mike is here. So
yeah, it's true. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for comics,
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean,
yeah,
go ahead.
enjoying all the force, like if the comics weren't here. So
Yeah, I was going to go into architecture, right? And I took 4 years of architecture in high school, and I realized by the fourth year that there was way too much math involved. So, and ironically, like that tied in perfectly with like The Dark Knight coming out. I was reading comics at that time in my teen years, but The Dark Knight came out, and that kind of like blew my mind. I was just like, oh my God, I want to do comic books. Like this is amazing. So that led me into going to the School of Visual Arts in New York, and I got really lucky. I had amazing teachers. Probably the most famous one would be Will Eisner, who was teaching at SVA at the time, and I had him as a senior instructor. So that was such a rare opportunity to have. And then ironically, as some of you may know about me, I didn't end up going into comics. I did a little bit of work in comics, but not very much. I ended up getting into Disney animation, and then my career went that way, and then it went to video games. So I never really reconnected into comics. I have done some short stories that are in like compilation books with other artists. Maybe we'll talk about that in another stream, but I have done some short stories and some other stuff. So if you dig around, you may find me. But yeah, like I said, most of my career is in video games, with animation at the beginning, but barely any comics. And yet I love storyboarding, which I've done quite a bit of, and I love comic books. I love the art of comics. So here we are today, and comics is such a great avenue for force, right? Like where else are you going to get as much force, right? And then comics, I've learned some of it from animation. Obviously, there's a lot of force in animation as well, but man, comics are full of it, right? And you're going to run into opportunities to describe force in ways that you wouldn't normally get to do. So let's get to it, right? We're going to try to teach you how to get more gestural and more superheroic in those gestures, and get to that. So before we do so, a couple of quick things. First of all, again, if you like what you see here on our channel, then please subscribe. Share with family, friends, neighbors, and whomever. Done the subscribe, so you guys can learn more about force drawing. Get the notification bell going, right? Just to notify you, so you don't have to worry about keeping up to date. And last but not least, a quick plug for the new Spider-Verse film and all my friends that have worked on this movie. I'm going to try to go see this weekend. I'm sure it's amazing, right? Visually, we know it's going to be mind-blowing, right? They like really changed the industry with the last film. So I'm sure it's going to be fantastic. And I'm sure the story is going to be great. A lot of really smart, creative people working on these Spider-Verse films. So with that, let me get Mattesi set up over here, and then you can take over the stream. All right, it's all yours.
All right, great. Let me get my weapon on.
Exactly. Get your web shooter on there.
Yep, there we go. So my computer. All right, guys. So what we are doing today is yeah, so because of this new Spider-Man movie coming, or it just released today, like in India. And so what I was thinking, so yeah, the stream says we're gonna do superhero gestures. So I specifically took Spider-Man, okay, as the reference point, as an inspiration point. And yeah, we're gonna look at some poses and we'll try to like convert them into like different Spider-Mans, right? Now, what this like news like Miles Morales version or this like Spider-Verse movies they did very well is like they introduced like a lot of characters, like a lot of kind of Spider-Mans that are like hidden in the comics, right? So what we can do is like we can just kind of like get off from the classic Spider-Man, and we can just kind of design like a lot, right? So maybe there's like a heavy Spider-Man, or maybe and there's obviously like Spider Goals as well, right? So you can take that path as well. So yeah, I have a few references. Now, what do I also have is like different kind of like Spider-Man's like characters which I just like took from Google. Now, obviously, like all the credit goes to the respective character designers and the concept artists, who did them. And the one on the top here, you can see that's specifically the Indian one, right? Which is coming out in the new movie. So yeah, let's kind of like take that one. You can see like the turnaround of this one. Now this is a concept. So I just like got the best image, what I can find. Maybe it looks a little bit different movie, but we can get it, right? Just to let you know, by the way, I'm a big Spider-Man fan. The only superhero I was living for, in the teenage, it was Spider-Man, right? I love the Sam Raimi versions, like the original Spider-Man trilogy, right? So it was great. I have a um I have a comic book right here. I'm not sure if you guys like know about this or not. This is called these kind of comics are called like artisan versions. And you can see like these are all non-rendered version of comics right there. This hopefully you can see them. Maybe I'll structure my screen for a bit to show you. See right there. Like, so these are like non-rendered versions, okay? Like you would see like all the inking, you would see like all the pencils and inks, right? It's all like without render. Okay. So anyway, this is called artisan version comics, and you can find like a lot of comics like that. But I have the Spider-Man version. This is the Gil Kane's version, which is like who's very famous in the 60s, right? Yeah, but anyway, it's great to look at like all their like the process work, like and these kind of comics, they're not clean versions, but they're like but kind of like a second last stage of the cleanup, so you would still see like whiteners and pencils and like fingerprints and all of that kind of thing. It's almost like looking at the rough animation to just kind of appreciate like how much work they're doing. Okay. So kind of like why kind of introducing them, because we're gonna take the same path, right? We're gonna be drawing some like dynamic gestures, like taking the character here, and a real life reference, and then try to like kind of render them out a little bit, and just have fun, right? All right. So let's take this one. I love this pose. Yeah, kind of like Spider-Man, right? So here's our pose. That is our reference, like at the top, the character reference. And yeah, let's try to do that. So yeah, we'll start out with the force, and you can see like he's very Spider-Man-ish. Yeah, like again. So let's go for it. So he's bent, right? I can see the spine there a little bit. Okay, right there. Oh yeah, if you have any questions, just put them in the chat. I'll try to answer them for sure. And okay, so there we go. He's very you look at the hump on his back, right? It's very bold right there. This hand is coming out. I love the perspective of this, this reference right there. Okay, and you can see there's a good squash right there. And like there. Creases, the skin creases, and I love this leg as well. It's coming out towards us. It's foreshortening. Yeah, very Spider-Man-ish, just you cannot ignore that fact there. Okay, so I'm gonna do the pose, and we're just gonna put like the features on the top for sure. It's kind of a good thing, like you are understanding the character first. It's not like you're just trying to directly just go in and say, oh, I'm gonna draw this Spider-Man right here. Yeah, first understand it very well. Okay, there we go. Just a rough hand right there. From the deltoid, here I'm using the arm template. Many people would already know it. So there we go. This hand is coming out, so I'm just like trying to do a size reference for it. Like a size difference, I mean. There's the elbow. Now here's it's coming out. Here I'm using a quick form, okay, or a quick shape, I should say, and then, to show the form that is coming out, I'm just like using the cross contour lines. Now, when it comes to the character, like let's say the cleanup, yeah, let's say the cleanup, like there are articles like, not articles, I should say, accessories, like, like let's say his armband or his like, like this thing in his like lower arm, basically. Okay, so that will help me define the form of this, okay, more and more. But right now you can just like use some cross contour lines to show it's coming out towards us. All right, there's a knee. It's just like I said, very forceful, very beautiful leg there. Yeah, coming out. There we go. There's the feet. Okay, so we have the thigh there, which is completely hidden. We have the feet there. All I'm just gonna, it's very tangent like, right? In the reference, you can see like the silhouette is not very clear, so I'm just gonna make it clear. I'm just gonna stretch this leg out using a very simple shape and just like creating a gap in there, and it's creating the feet right there. All right, something like this right there. And I'm just gonna clean this up later. Right now, I'm just like putting the feel that it's under pressure right there. Okay, so I'm just like feeling, I'm just like creating a feeling that the fist is creating a lot of force to the ground. You see, it's like this, and it's like this, and it's like that. Okay, this one comes towards us. And yeah, there we go. We have the body right there. Okay, and then there's a fist right there. So I'm just gonna make it a little bit bigger for sure. Now just to create this this depth in there. Okay, and there we go. The fist out in the front. And now I can just throw in a quick head there, very quick. Yeah, just throw in a quick head like this. All right, so we have done a post study. I'm just gonna do this. That's the last. We'll see what we can make better, where we can like clear things out. There's a little neck in there for sure, so I can add that. The force in this arm is a little less, I think. I'm just gonna do the angle better. Like this. Okay, and now it's giving me like more opportunity to clean that that leg, like the silhouette of the leg a little bit better, okay, as well. So there we go. A lot of form for the legs for sure, and some sculpting lines to finally create the depth. And there's a knee, right? This is the kneecap right there. Okay, so a very rough pose in there. Okay, so let's try to do a little And I must say, like, this is one of the rarest things that you see me do, like the second pass on the top. Yeah, Swelly does this a lot. He's doing a second pass or a third pass on top, right? To make it like very, very clean. But yeah, it's a rare moment, so cherish it. Okay. So there we go. I would have a second pass on top of this. Now, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take the character here and wait a second, I'm just gonna lock this. Okay, I'm just gonna take the character here and try to like put the features on top. Let's start with the head a little bit, and you can see it's very, yeah, it's very Indianish, like Indian, like big hair, you know, and it's on one side. Okay, it's very much like a goon, you know. So there we go. I'm just throwing this like quick head in there. Now I know, like, yeah, like he's basically wearing his mask in the second one, as you can see. I know like the eyes can go like really wide, so I'm just like putting that. So maybe the nose in there, okay, as well. And then he's got like patterns, you know, like over his mask. So there we go. We have this web at the bottom right there. Not gonna go like super clean with it, but yeah, it would still be rough because I'm still at my ideation stage. It's not like, you know, I have like made it final version or something. Okay, there we go. The hair is a big, you can see a beautiful shapes used right in the character itself concept. Okay, right there. There's his hair. It's gonna use a quick neck in there. And I would still refer to my reference, okay? Like for, I don't know, maybe if I need like a like reference of like what this part could have looked like, and combining them both. Any questions in the chat?
Nope, you're all good. Keep going.
Okay, great. All right, now we got like his costume over here. Yeah, so he's got like half sleeves. Okay, that would be fun. Never seen Spider-Man in half sleeves. So there we go. We have this. Now he has the armband, the gold armband right there, or maybe a metal armband, whatever. And then some creases in there. I would definitely put some creases for sure, like right here. It's got a seam in here. It's got a spider web in there as well. Also, the color is like, yeah, very Indianish. He's got a collar there. So I'm just gonna put that collar in here. Very, yeah, kind of like that kind of collar.
So being from India yourself, you think that this Spider-Man's a good representation of the culture?
It's very one of those informal types, you know.
Mhm.
It doesn't represent too often too much of the culture, I would say, but it's more like modern.
Mhm.
Uh, it's definitely like one of those like informal goon side of things, you know. It's good though. It's great to see. People are started to yeah, people are starting to accept it, so that's great.
Mhm.
I don't know, I'm just like thinking of a word I want to use, but yeah, I cannot think of that word in English.
Mhm.
It's like those kind of people, or like gangster type of people who are just like, you know, or like keeping like this kind of hair, like very informal type, like gangster members, but like more, or not like a big gangster, but like street gangsters, you know, that kind of
Mhm.
Spider-Man.
Like a thug.
Oh yeah, that can be a word for that. Yeah, thank you.
So is that becoming like more of a popular look?
It is. Yeah.
Mhm.
Like people just roam around, you know, with this kind of
Mhm.
hairstyle.
Mhm. So they look more rebellious, I guess, because of the like long hair and the asymmetry.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Now they might have just chosen it for the fun of the movie, I would definitely say. And
Mhm.
like for some like comedy and stuff, because I've seen in trailer like he does like a lot of comedy in the movie. I think like Miles Morales meet him when he's like swinging and or something like that that's happening, and he's like saving him from goons, you know, the Spider-Man that are
Oh,
chasing.
really? Oh, that's funny.
Now, this kind of costume here, that's a little, I have to think about it, but it's coming from there, right there. And then it's covering his knee. Okay, I'm gonna cheat here a little bit. I'm just gonna go with the form rather than just how the design actually looks like. So there we go. Maybe I can do that. And then, yeah, I'm gonna show his knee, and then, yeah, right there is the leg. And he has a like definitely some designs or some like part of the apparel onto the feet as well. And there's a form, some gold, whatever, some metal things that are on his arm, things that are on his leg as well. I'm gonna put that in there. Okay, it's got like great boots as well, as you can see. That is very Indian. That is very Indian kind of footwear. Okay, so here we go. Like this thing would just kind of like on the floor. It's like a drapery just hanging there.
Mhm.
All right, and let me do this quick elbow right here. And then like some accessories around his forearm as well. I'm not gonna do it too detail, but yeah, there we go. Okay, and he finally has Spider-Man gloves that are true Indian as well. So let's put them in. Okay. Now, definitely, you guys can, like, if you're making it on your own, or you're just like doing it in your free time, whatever, like you can definitely make it like a lot detail. Okay, I'm just like trying to give the character that vibe, and that's it. He's got like web, and like flowing from there, and then this is happening. Yeah, I like that. And the second arm goes like the same way. So here's the deltoid, here's the bicep, there's the elbow. Very beautiful forearm right there. I would say that that's one of the hero things in the pose itself. Very dynamic forearm. Yes, as you can see, like I'm referring to to my pose reference here. Now many times then I'm referring to the character. Okay, for sure. Okay, there we go. We have a quick hand in there. And then it's the same thing, I guess. Yeah, it's a little, they're like putting some asymmetry over the other side, which is great. Yeah. Asymmetry always brings some sort of interest, like contrast-based interest, if you guys know. And this is a little accessory. This one is a big one, like a long one. And then some gloves in there. Yeah, there we go. And yeah, some like spider web, like coming down in here. Or maybe it's twisting or something like that. Okay, there we go. And then just with the other leg, it's very, very quick and easy. I'm just gonna do this. And I'm gonna use a quick shape in here. And then just gonna put the accessory on the top. Okay, no questions.
Nope, chat's all good. Just keep going.
So here's the feet, and I think he's got that kind of footwear. Very amazing footwear, I should say. Okay, there we go. We had a quick like the first pass on top. Now, just to kind of like bring in a little bit more fun, I'm just gonna color this a little bit. So let me put some creases in here. Yeah, what I would say is like are important parts to the, to the ideas. Yeah. Okay, great. Yeah, so I'm gonna put some color inside of this. Let's see. I'm just gonna like take the colors from here, and let's do that. Yeah, this one brush just does amazing things for me. Yeah, very reddish, right? These are like very Indian colors, I would definitely say, right? Very like warm, warm colors.
They're very
Uh,
saturated.
yeah, they're very, very saturated. Exactly. They're balancing it off with this like blues, right there.
Yeah, what is that? What's that holiday where it seems like people are throwing bags of like colored powder at each other?
That is Holy Festival.
Yeah, those colors are usually extremely saturated and super vibrant.
Yeah, believe me, you have not seen those saturated colors yet.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a silver tube and a golden tube, and it's like if you rub it on your skin would become like super golden and silver, like your skin will become reflective. That's how strong the colors are.
Wow.
And then you're gonna get it off until you wash it with something like kerosene or something like that. Dangerous, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of like that. Okay, let me just grab these colors. Now they're balancing it off with these like purples and blues. And purples, I would say they use blue in here in those cases. Yeah, but Holi is fun, by the way. Just to let you know, these are only
Yeah.
kind of thugs, who are throwing that color too. Otherwise, if you kind of enjoy it, it's more like Tomatino Festival, but it's played with colors. That's it.
Right.
Yeah, so people can, people relate to it that way. Tomatino Festival, but it's with colors.
Yeah, I've always wanted to go for the one where, like I said, those bags of color all over the place. Looks like a lot of fun.
Yeah. Great. Let's quickly do this.
So you get about 3 more minutes.
Okay, let's do it quickly then. Wow, time passes quickly. I thought,
Yeah, once you start drawing, it goes a lot faster.
exactly. I should do a 2-hour stream for this one.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, just quickly say 3 more minutes. I just got 3 more minutes.
2 more minutes.
Wow. That's fast. Okay. Just kind of quickly throwing in there, throwing this in there. Maybe an armband here. This one goes there, this one goes there. And the red for this one. I kind of realize I don't have to do it like as cleanly. It's kind of like a concept, so let's quickly kind of throw in there. Oh, more than the face yet. Let's do that. The pattern's important, so I'm just gonna put white in there. White eyes for sure. And we got the hair. And I think that's the final stroke for now. Just get the blue in there. All right, so yeah, there we go. Hopefully, hopefully you enjoyed this part, guys. And yeah, I'm kind of like excited. If you just post it on Instagram, just tag us, and we'll be happy to see those designs. All right, I'm just gonna hand it over to Mike. Hope you enjoyed this little illustration demo. And yeah, we're gonna now see some comic book stuff, like a lot of knowledgeable stuff. All right, Mike, all yours.
All right, guys. So on my side, we're going to do something a little different. I'm going to, I'm going to show you some of the comic book artists that inspired me, some that I think are really forceful out there. And then I'm going to try to sketch for you guys some of the sort of common poses that we would see in comics and how to take them from like mundane to more heroic and figure out how to get those gestures going. So I'm going to try here to see, I'm going to share off my camera here in the background. Let me get rid of this. Let's see, virtual background. We're gonna get rid of that. so you guys can see my screen, right? This way you can see my hand draw. It looks like that's all good. And you'll see my head come in and out every so often. All right, so let's see what we got. I've put together a list of artists here that I think really have inspired me when it comes to comics and comic book art. And I can't help but always come back to Frazetta. You know, I'm like, oh, should I bring him in today? I'm like, how do I not bring him in, right? Like such a master. Most people know him for his paintings, but you know, Frazetta started in comics also. Some of you may not know that, but he actually started in comic book illustration, and his inks are just as masterful as his paintings, right? And you can see how that mastery from the paintings actually, I mean, from the inks actually leads to the paintings, because all the values and stuff are already here. They're almost, you know, painted in black and white at some point already at this stage. Just amazing. I've never seen this one. I just found this today. I was like, wow, that's really cool. And you know, I've looked at Frazetta for many decades, and I was like, wow, that's cool. This is a piece I've never actually, like I said, seen before. So really beautiful sense of force. I love the crossing of the arms and even the sweeping and all the hair and this creature jumping. You know, what does it mean to draw with force? Well, and to be really simple, just things are moving, right? Like things have motion and there's direction, right? Things are directing themselves. Like this is going this way and this is going this way and this is going this way. You know, it's a lot of energy, right? You can see in this one, like the body's arcing like this and the snake's here and this guy's sweeping like this. You can see the S. Yeah.
Sorry to disturb. Can you pin your video so people can see it full screen?
Yeah. Yes. Thank you. Sorry. Thank you for bringing that up. Pin. So, you know, you could see here, like all these different directions, right? Like everything is sweeping, right? Clear directions. Like, look at that to that, right? Like, that's fantastic. This S. And you got this strong curve here. And then there's a snake, of course, in here. And these guys are just as serpentine as the snake actually is with how much they're moving, right? So you can't, like I said, just can't ignore Frazetta's presence in the world of illustration, fantasy and science fiction illustration, and in comic books, right? Here's like some pages I found. These are older ones of his as well. And you can see from the very beginning in his career, like things are just full of energy, right? Just energy. Now, it's not to say everybody needs to illustrate with energy. I mean, there's tons of comic book artists I like that are not forceful, but Frazetta is not in that camp. You know, to him, he wants drama, right? He likes drama, he likes energy, and he likes flow and rhythm. And, you know, that's what he's presenting us with, right? So just amazing, right? Just amazing. So that brings us up to a couple of other guys that inspired me in my past. This is John Buscema. I'll write his name down over here. Put it up at the top. So we have John Buscema. So for those of you, some of you may not know of him, but if you have the Have and Draw Comics the Marvel Way, then you know of his work because he was the artist that really put that book together, right? In fact, I think I have the Namor drawing. Yeah, that was for chapter 6. So he drew this, right? And, you know, you could see he probably was inspired by Frazetta to some degree. All these guys, you know, Frazetta was huge, like 50s, 60s, 70s. So these guys were inspired by Frazetta, right? And I think that also like greatly affected the comic book industry, right? And you know, Buscema was great at it. Like again, great job of force and flow. It's interesting to look at the arm up here, right? The arm's not super forceful. He kind of scribbled it out, but he knew how to get the, you know, get the figure moving, and his inks were really good, right? Like really excellent use of line to sculpt form with force. So not just form. And some, again, some artists do ink just purely for structure. Charles Gibson would be one, right? But here we have Buscema. Look at all like the movement of the lines, right? Moving across the body, right? So here we're getting a lot of form, but it feels like it's pulling down with the direction of this wildcat, right? Really cool. The face is beautifully done too. Beautifully drawn, beautifully inked. So here's just a bunch of Buscema stuff. I thought this was cool because even though this is just this kind of treacherous looking cowboy, look at all the movement. Look at the curve from the back, sweeping in, you know, sweeping into like the shoulder here, right? Like all this flow. And the hat's got like beautiful flow and rhythm to it, right? He's like hunched over. There's an idea going on, you know? There's just energy in it. Here's a Hulk that he did, right? Lots of great rhythm and fluidity. Here's the Namor piece, and that's John Buscema, right? So This is one of my faves. This guy's name is Walt Simonson. Let's see, let me move this over and I'll write his name down. I've probably mentioned him in other streams. He's kind of got force, but he's also very like graphic designy. And I really love when artists bring those two worlds together. So Walt Simonson. He was best known for Thor during the period of Beta Ray Bill. Some of the stuff you've seen in the movies of late with Thor come from Walt Simonson plots. And yeah, I just really loved his work. Super dynamic, but graphic at the same time, like the way he used text, his compositions. Like, look at this pose. Like, he just looks really badass, right? Super tough, the angled shoulders, the way the arms are sweeping, the curves in the legs, but really graphic and thick. Everything, like the guys were always like thick and muscular, almost like a modern Jack Kirby, right? Like a modernized Kirby. Yeah, just really love Simonson's work. And I would say one of the ultimate artists when it comes to force in comics, I have to say, and this is going back also some ways till today, would be Todd McFarlane. I was looking at a lot of artists to prepare for this today. Let me just write his name down here for those of you who've never heard of him. Todd McFarlane. Right. And this guy, Todd, I think he was coming in, I think like late 80s, early 90s. And he just took over Spider-Man for Marvel. Like, he just like blew the whole industry out of the water with his posing. I think it just it was like a bomb went off, quite frankly. And I don't mean to like overstate it. That's not an overstatement. I think he just blew everybody out of the water with how dynamic his posing was. And him on Spider-Man was just like the ultimate combination, right? Because he drew super forcefully, as you could see, just lots of great fluidity and connectivity. And his mastery over understanding the flow in the body and the mechanics of the body combined with depth, right? So he would do a lot of space, also deep space, really pushed it. Here's a little bit he did with DC. He mostly worked for Marvel. And Todd McFarlane is really the main reason for Image Comics. Todd really helped the other guys sort of gang up and leave Marvel, right? So that's when you had, Jim Lee and a bunch of other guys move over with them. Those are like the two big ones, right? And they created Image, right? So yeah, like I said, I couldn't help but look at, this work. It's like you look at these poses and it's like, wow, look at that compared to that. Like, look at that, look at that, look at that, look at that. Like everything, look at the dynamism of that, right? Like, just seeing the abstraction of how this stuff moves is just over the top. Pose after pose after pose after pose, right? Lots of dimension. Look at the size of one foot compared to the other. Right? That's a cool pose, right? Really cool pose. Because when I think about gravity, I love that he's like using his hands to stand on, right? And the webbing, as support as he's swinging, and how he's swinging his weight over this. Like, that's a really awesome gesture, right? He's really great for this stuff. I mean, Spider-Man's legs could be in front of him and behind him, like, just, again, crazy perspective, crazy stretching. Yeah, it's pushing things all over the place. Here's that one, similar to one I showed you. Here's another one, right? Look at how powerful the arcs are. I always say that really force lies in the curves, right? And man, look at that. It's like cyclical, right? It's like spinning and spinning and spinning, got his arm popping out over there, but this has lots of strong curves in it to make this pose happen, right?
Mike, there's a question for you in the chat.
Yeah, what's that?
Answer. Peter and Marla says, I've been wondering if there are like any female characters like from comic books that they want to study, they're not over sexualized.
Yeah, that's a great question. I don't know, I haven't read, Supergirl, of course, is one that comes to mind that I think is not, I don't know, I don't think is sexualized to her, to Peter Marla's point as some of the other ones. But I think it's tough. I think it's tough situations. Like, you got guys and they're always in fights. There's lots of guns and people punching each other. And then, like you said, you have, there's some sexualization, of course, in the female space. But I think it's a tough question. I don't necessarily read either one of those spaces that much. I end up reading things that are, especially now, I don't read that much even to into those spaces. I've been reading more like science fiction and stuff like that of late, of late. So hard for me to tell. I couldn't really give you an answer. I wish I could be better about that, but I don't really have an answer to that. Yeah, my apologies. This is a guy I follow on Instagram. His Instagram is Kizarilla. I'm gonna butcher the spelling here, but let's get rid of Todd's name here. And so I highly recommend following this guy. I think he's really good. I just can't remember if it's Kiz or it's like Kizarilla, something like this, right? I can't remember if it's Kidz or not. If it's Kidz, Kizarilla, but it's something like this. And he does really great posing for all characters, not just Spider-Man. He's got a lot of different stuff on his page, and he does a great job of adding a lot of dynamism and space to his. There's also, I think it's called Coal Reaper or Color Reaper, is another guy that's really good. This one, ironically, is Andy Kubert. I say ironically because Joe Kubert, there's a comic book school in New Jersey, and that was by Joe Kubert, and that's the name of the school. And he had two sons, Adam and Andy, that moved into the comic book industry and followed in their dad's footsteps. And this is Andy's work. And I just thought this was a really sort of graphic pose with the clarity of the fist and the curve of the other arm, but also a lot of force in it. Like I could really see in here the fluidity coming from like the pelvis down here and sweeping up into the rib cage and then shooting out that hand, right? Like that's really cool, really, really cool, right? So what have we got? I thought I would just have fun kind of going through different things that happen in comics and try to take you from like mundane to heroic, right? As fast as I can. I got about 20 minutes to do so. So for instance, I'm gonna just get my head in here. Somebody's standing, right? Let's go to black. So here's, somebody standing. What does that look like? Like just an average person standing, right? Might be something like this. Just sketching, right? It's like that. But how do we add drama to this is really the key, all right? So if it's a superhero, and forget about like mass and musculature and all that, we're just talking about the gesture, right? It's like, how do I add more to this? Let's get a ground plane in here so they're all standing on the same ground. So if it's heroic, the thing with heroism is usually to have more of like the chest sticking out, right? Like this. And now we have more of a lifted chest, right? Reminds me of like a rooster, right? Like inflated chest, I think. And so here, let's do the inflated chest. I'm gonna start there, and then I'm gonna change this up for you. So notice how much that changes this pose, right? We went from regular standing to like boom, inflated, right? Chest, right? So what happened? I changed the angle. See that? I pushed the chest skyward, and that gives us all this other drama. Let's copy and paste this. Move it over here. And the other thing I can do here that would add a lot of drama is play with the legs. The best thing to do is spread the legs further apart. Like wide stance is dramatic, basically. Right now, he's like this. You see? So look at how we went from number 1 to number 2 to number 3, right? Big difference. All I did was change like the angle of the chest. I can thin him out too, right? Just to get a little more to the first guy. But it's the angle of the chest, the upward thrust, that's like causes stretching in the abs, and the wide stance, right? So we have angle here and wide stance. Right? So that's standing. I want to just give you some quick tips on, right, like things that you could do to get things to be more heroic. Okay, that's the first one. Running. Well, we could do running, I think, side view and front view. So running, you might have someone casually running. They might be like this. Here's my quick gesture. Let's see. When someone's running or walking, by the way, arms and legs are always opposite. So front right, that means this arm is going to go back. Right, like so. Okay, so there's like the gesture of it. Let's move that over here. Say, here's the ground. So what would I do here to change this? Again, angles actually are key for this. I would lean this character forward. If you watch the Flash, right, coming out the new Flash film, which by the way looks pretty damn awesome, I've got to say, kind of very pleasantly surprised. We have a choice. I want the angle, but then I can pick what curve of force I want there. Do I want to push from the back into the shoulder and have them run like that? Or do I want to push into the sort of inflated chest thing again, right? And push them out this way. Say they're like this. I think on this one, I'm going to lean through the back. I'm going to go like this, right? But that angle is super important, right? Like so. And then the arms, more drama, right? Almost like the legs, like we were talking about before. I'm going to spread them further apart, like really get strong angles going here. You see that? Here's the head. Maybe we put the head on a tilt, right? So more intense. What you're trying to stay away from, you'll start noticing, is perfect vertical and horizontal, right? So we start staying away from that, we get more drama. And I would probably put these legs further apart. So here it just depends on what point in the run I'm saying. Am I going to put the leg like that? Or, is he like at this moment in the run? You see? But notice the difference, right? Notice the drama difference between this and this. Very strong angles, curves of force, still holding it all together, but hyper dramatic, right? So this is what we're looking for. You want to do comics, it's like understanding this language. What's the change between what we normally do versus how is this going to become more heroic, right? Where's the hero gesture in this? All right, we're doing pretty well timing wise. Jumping, right? I had no thought about what I'm going to do for jumping. So let's see here. Somebody jumping, right? So I would imagine somebody regularly jumping would be something like this. Kind of like what the one I have in the thumbnail, right? Somebody might be like this. Again, and you can see I'm just doodling. That's how crude my drawings are, because I'm just trying to sketch out poses. Versus a hero, well, I would say the first hero thing I think of when I think of a jump would be something that's more like, more like this. This is almost Spider-Man-ish, right? So if we have the legs in different locations, there's a stronger angle. Notice the angle that's running through here that I put in there, right? Bring the head down. Right, the angle of their body again, right, is sweeping, right? You got their arms doing something. Maybe this arm goes back in space. And I haven't played with depth yet that much, right? So there, that one's more dramatic, right? Way more dramatic. Angles, not just a straight up and down hop. It's like this, very different angles in the legs, right? This one's pointing up, this one's going down. We got the foot going this way, this other foot going this way. So things are moving like all over the place, right? Angles, 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 just lots of drama, right? Punching, right? We were just talking about punching, right? So you might have like somebody doing a normal punch, right? Something like this, which is pretty dramatic all in itself, I would have to say, first of all. Let's see, the mistake I'm making here is the leg. So this is going forward, so I want the other leg to go back. So this one's, a lot of drama already in here. Okay. Let's see if we can make that better, all right? keep thinking of doing something like this. Try to get this elbow to come out and go back in space. And we can see a little bit of this back arm here. I don't know if I like that. Maybe it's over here. Hopefully you're seeing how loose I'm drawing too, right? Again, definitely wide stance, just like the other guy has, but wide stance, right? You can see I'm not being super pure about my line here, you know, with the force line. Like I'm thinking about force, but I'm kind of sketching this stuff out. So it's more about like the shapes that I'm getting this stuff with, you know, and it gets more sketchy because I'm drawing from imagination too. So it takes me a little more work to do it, right? But that's fine. What matters is that you're getting all the rhythms moving, you know, like all this stuff is actually still operating. This goes into this goes into this goes like this goes like this goes like this, right? Like it's all there, right? I didn't break any of the force rules, right? Same here, like all this stuff, this is an S torso, this goes like this goes like this. It's all in there, you see? So even though I'm drawing crudely, I'm still very aware of what the shapes are and the rhythms that I'm trying to create, right? Flying, not something us normal folk can do. But I was thinking about flying. It's kind of like the chess thing, you know. It's like it's one thing to just say like, "Hey, I'm flying," right? Let's probably put this in perspective a little bit. Maybe somebody's got their arms like down like this, right? Like so. So you can see that in my sketch, and you can notice again. Hopefully, you guys are seeing just how fast I'm putting these together, right? Each sketch is like 30 seconds or so, right? Pretty quick, right? So flying this way or more drama, right? So I think I would try to create a lot more like asymmetry, right? Again, like here's the face, and maybe I want like a huge fist here, right? And this is going to come down to the arm and the shoulder. I'm going to try to have the other arm kind of a superhero, Superman pose, like the other one's smaller back here. Right, so like one shoulder is up and forward. That means the rib cage is like angled and turned like this. Right, and I'm going to bring this knee up like this, almost like a punch, really, right? Like flying with a punch. The flying punch is what's going on here. You know what that gets me into trouble-wise is the other leg. So we'd see this. I've covered up a lot of that other leg, right? Like that. So I don't know if I like that. Let's try the other way. The problem is that's not going to. Yeah, I'm in a little bit of a bind. So what I was just thinking as well, it'd be cool to have this other leg go up, right? So I could see the closer leg go back, right? Like this. You see what I mean? So that works better, but it's a little weird from a pose standpoint because this is stretching and the force of the body goes this way. Usually this leg would go up and now I have like the high leg over here. So I'm not too thrilled about that, but pose wise, I'd say it's clearer, right? It's like I have this, I've got this. All right, we've got this foot going down, got this foot here. So it's definitely clearer when it comes to the silhouette, right? Much clearer silhouette. Let's talk about silhouette. I don't like that that hand is tangenting over there. You see that? So I'm going to get rid of that, right? Let's get it. I have tons of space right here. There's no reason for me to do that, right? So I'm going to get the hand there. You see? All right, get his fist over here. Any conversation I should be aware of, Matunjay?
No, they're loving it.
Okay, cool.
There's a question about a book called How to Draw Comics the Marvel Way, and if they're asking if you have read it, and if so, what do you think about the poses in there? Are they forceful enough or?
I have read, yeah, I definitely, it was my first how to draw book actually as a kid. I got it when I was really young. I don't know how young I was. I would say maybe, I want to say my early teens. I think I probably got that book, maybe like 12, 13 years old. Um, and I used to love that book. I mean, it really has some great ideas in it, stuff that now you're finding all over YouTube, right? But I had some really good ideas in it about not only posing, but perspective and panels. And I liked the drawings a lot, which again were John Buscema. Um, I'm not crazy about it's funny, I can imagine in my mind there's a drawing in the back of Thor in profile, and it's very scribbly. And I remember I wasn't that crazy about it, but looking back at it, I don't have, and ironically, I don't have that book anymore. I used to tutor a kid in Los Angeles when I lived there, and he was really good. He was a young kid, like 8 years old, and I gave him my book, right? So I don't have my book anymore. So I'd pull it out as my point. Um, I looking back at this kind of like scribbly Thor, I think what it does, what's good about it is hopefully it would teach kids to like loosen up, like you got to just be able to draw and sketch and try to get, and I've been doing that for you guys for this whole stream on my part today of just being, you can see how scribbly I'm being. I'm just trying to draw and sketch things out and keep them forceful, right? So I think in that way it was great. It's a great book, and it taught me how to draw people's heads and basic proportions of heads, like all that stuff. For me, that's where it all really started, where I was taking it more seriously. So I think it's a fun book, quite frankly. I had that book, and then later I had the George Bridgman book. That was like the second probably art book that I had. Yeah, those two really stuck out for me. And ironically, I got the Bridgman book because of Frazetta, because the story that was out there was Frazetta really learned from Bridgman, and I love Frazetta's work. So I was like, I'm going to look at George Bridgman, right? So you can see here, we have got flying. So I would, I'm going to just sketch a couple more. I have a few minutes here. I would just like start noodling around, like imagine flying, but, with different poses, right? Like maybe one leg's up and one leg's down. So this is how I doodle. I use force shape. It lets me get like figures down very quickly, instead of worrying about the details, right? I can get stuff done like really fast out of my head, you see, like this. Doesn't take me that long to just sketch it out, and then I could turn that, later into something, right? Like here's a cape. We can make this guy more muscular, right? Here, let's add some anatomy to this. Let's see. Okay, brush. This is also why I say don't learn anatomy first, right? You want to learn all this other stuff first. Like you want to understand how to draw with force and get, movement into the body. And then, learn about form and perspective, right? And then shape, and then finally get to anatomy, So it's like towards the end, for those of you that really want to just get into anatomy, I highly recommend all the other stuff first, right? Here's his lats, right? Get his abs in here and his rib cage. Get the pelvis in here. Get some more muscular legs going. Again, just a rough, but it's giving me more information, right? So I could do another step on this if I wanted to finish it, and ink it, for instance, right? A quick tone in here. Right, so there's like a kind of Supermanish pose, right? Just blocking stuff in. All right, guys. In closing, I did the sketch this morning. I thought I would share. I never get to do anything in color just because of lack of time. So here's a Spider-Man. I was playing with brushes and I was playing with the ink line, just having fun with it. And I put an abstract background with some subtle buildings in the back again, just because of lack of time. But I hope that, the goal today is really inspire you guys, right? Go and draw, right? Go and draw some characters, go draw some superheroes. We have a big Spider-Man weekend coming up with Spider-Verse coming out. And yeah, I hope that between Matunja and I, we got you excited enough to like sit down and do some sketching, right? So with that, I close up today. Let's see, let's get back over here and let's get my, if I can, gallery, there we go. So thanks Matunja for all your drawing today. Thank you guys for joining us on this Force Friday. Go draw, and we will, and post to Instagram, right? I get to see what you guys are doing there. So follow me, and I'll try to follow you back and see what kind of drawings you do over the weekend. Take care. See you guys.
Hey.
Bye bye.